necessarily withholding information. I'm sure it's available if you ask or something. I mean, they can't technically keep it from you, but that doesn't mean it has to be easy to access.
The hidden history of neoliberalism, how Reaganism gutted America and how to restore its greatness. Tom Hartman breaks down how the United States transformed into a neoliberal oligarchy and why it's time to correct course.
Author and host of the Tom Hartman program, Tom Hartman joins us now. Welcome back to Rising, Tom.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you both. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So my first question is this. It's called neoliberalism, right? Like the liberals definitely played a role in this. Talk to us about like why and how that happened. How did the Democrats end up embracing so much of this at the same time as the Republicans?
That's so interesting. And that's the point that I was trying to make with everybody when we talk about neoliberalism, because it has the liberal in it, and you automatically think of Democrats, but it's not just the Democrats on the neoliberal stuff.
But it is mostly them. And the ones that have an R by their name are really Democrats in disguise.
So you're saying Reagan was a Democrat in disguise?
Yes.
Dun dun dun.
He was a Democrat when he was running the Writers Guild. Before, when he was doing the first couple of times he ran for president, he ran as a Democrat. He couldn't get in until he ran as a Republican.
Dun dun dun. Let's play his answer.
Well, there's kind of two pieces to this. First of all, the European definition of the word liberal is different than the American definition. And the guys who invented neoliberalism were, with the exception of Milton Friedman, all Europeans. And so in Europe, when you say liberal, what you're really talking about would in the United States be described as libertarian or conservative economics or Reaganomics or trickle-down economics. And they wanted this to be the new and improved version of that, thus neoliberalism. But you're absolutely right. It was the Reagan Revolution that imposed neoliberalism on the United States. But Bill Clinton was, just fine with that. In fact, he doubled down on it by signing NAFTA and declaring the end of the era of big government and the end of welfare as we know it. And so we've had 40 years of neoliberalism brought to us by both Democrats and Republicans. And now for the first time in those 40 years, we've got a president, Joe Biden, who's actually pushing back on neoliberalism, pushing back against it, which is really a good thing.
I don't know that I see Biden actually pushing back on neoliberalism.
He is definitely not. He is definitely not. If anybody was pushing back on it, it would be Trump, because neo is really just saying worldwide, like this is like multi governments, many governments that's coming together. No. He is part, cause see, and I wanted to also address the part about Reagan, but Biden is definitely not pushing back against any of that. He is probably the most controlled. Well, besides, because I think Trump was controlled to some extent too. I think all of them have kind of played that part. And is somewhat involved in all of that to some extent, but
yeah, I don't know how he could say that, because he said the past 40 years the Republicans and the Democrats have been pushing these neoliberal agendas. How long has Biden been in there? He's been a congressperson. That's the ones who write these legislations.
Yeah, but that's just like he's a part of the Council for Foreign Relations. That's who's been really running a lot of shit, and he's been a part of it for 50 years.
Let me play some more.
I disagree. So how would you overcome my skepticism that unleashing market forces to raise living standards and lower the price of goods and everything. You're saying that's actually been a bad thing, and we need more government management of the economy. Is that what you mean by liberalism? Because the word neoliberalism gets used by a lot of people on the left in like a boogeyman context to refer to absolutely everything they don't like. I think even you would agree that it's a very broad painting being assembled by that word. So what do you mean by it, and what am I missing for why it's been so disastrous?
Well, first of all, neoliberalism doesn't unleash market forces. Market forces are like football, right? It's a game that people play with money. And if you play that game with decent rules, just like the NFL does with football, then the game works for everybody. And that's what we had before neoliberalism. That was basically Keynesian economics. We went from having fewer than 10% of Americans in the middle class in 1930 to 65% of Americans in the middle class in 1980 when Reagan came into office. It's now down to 45% because the, quote, government interference that actually produces a middle class. A middle class is not the normal state of capitalism. Read Dickens, that's the normal state of capitalism. And that was America in the census of 1900. The average American income in today's dollars, family income is $4,300. 95% of Americans were poor, dirt poor in 1900. And so what neoliberalism has done with so-called free trade, which is basically let corporations go anywhere in the world for the cheapest labor possible, by radically cutting taxes on the morbidly rich, which allows them to accumulate massive amounts of wealth that they principally invest in instruments that do not churn, that do not perpetuate the economy, that do not stimulate the economy. What we've seen is a collapse of the middle. Oh, and the neoliberal battle belief that labor unions are an inappropriate interference in the so-called free market, and when in fact all they do is balance somewhat the power relationship between employers and employed. These neoliberal principles have gutted the American middle class, and frankly, Biden and many progressive Democrats in particular are calling for an end to it. I think it's a good thing.
So here,
why does he keep saying that?
That's the only part, because everything he's saying is true except the fact that Biden plays more into it than anybody else.
And how does he keep putting it bothers me to put Biden in the same breath with progressive. Like, don't do that. Please.
Bro, and he's saying it with a straight face, but he knows he's lying. Look at his eyes.
here's my question. I totally agree with you about everything you just said. I don't think that in the middle class is unlike Robbie, I don't think it's a naturally occurring phenomenon of the market. I think that the shift from a market economy based on, production to one based on finance has been disastrous for the middle class. I totally agree with everything you're saying, offshoring, NAFTA. My question is how come you don't give President Trump any credit? He was the one who got rid of NAFTA. He started a trade war with China, put tariffs on all of this stuff. He really jump-started a return of manufacturing. To me, he really was the first one to take an axe to the sort of handshake agreement between both parties that enforced this neoliberal order since 1980, like you said. Well, how come he doesn't get any credit in this story?
What you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm glad that somebody's trying to keep him honest, because he's definitely a liar. Because I mean, he's correct in what the neoliberalism does in a whole, but who he's trying to accredit to it, because see, the whole idea is he wants to keep the system that's going the way it's going. He's wanting it to stay that way, so he's trying to get people to feel more confident in the systems in which
and that's how you end up with a platform like this and able to come out with a book and have it sell and make money, is that you say some truth in there, but then you guide the people into a direction that's
gonna screw them,
basically. Vote Democrat.
Yeah, because shamefully, we have to admit that American people because because they're not dumb. They're not like, but they're not as attentive or able to see the intricacies that's actually happening as they're happening.
And they can't
And
really discern this stuff. So then they defer to somebody like this who seems really educated and known about the topic, which I'm sure he is, but at the same time, you
he's
have to
being deceptive.
understand, right? It's part about being successful, because I be talking about the Democrats or the neoliberals, if you will, how powerful it is, So like you want to make money, then you want to be saying this kind of stuff that he's saying. It's gonna make you money.
Yeah.
Let me play some more.
Well, actually, in my book, he does. And I think it's an important point. I mean, I wouldn't say he was the first to take an axe to it. Bernie Sanders has been singing this song since 1980.
Yes.
Along with a lot of Democrats. Sherrod Brown, for example, has been in the Senate for a long time, and he's been arguing against trade deals and things like that. But yeah, Donald Trump,
Wait.
this is one of the reasons why he became president in 2016.
Go ahead.
Let me say this, because I know he's going to have me somewhere saying something else in a few minutes. But the whole thing with Bernie, because one of the reasons why he hasn't gotten the nomination is because of trying to be him actually wanting to be righteous and actually fix it. Because I think that, like, if it would have been between Bernie and Trump, like, it would have been a totally different thing.
Bernie would have mashed him.
Yeah.
Bernie would have won.
And even Trump would have been like, damn, like, I don't even know, like, I shouldn't even run.
Well, he would have ran. He was running anyway, so it was gonna end up being so. But then they screwed Bernie and put Hillary up there, who nobody likes, and that's how you get Trump.
Well,
if Bernie would have mashed Trump, he would have murked him, without a doubt.
So too. Yeah, I think so too. But see, the thing is, because I mean, I still believe that the Democrats have a hold and a control over Bernie. But that's the one thing about Trump, why they really, it's like they talk bad about him and try to do everything against him to try to keep people from, even trying to have them to even consider him as a good option, is because that he goes against all of the bullshit that they've been going with for the last 40, 50 years.
He tried to make America profitable.
And the neoliberals aren't on board with that, because they want to make the corporations profitable. That's what I'm saying. And the corporations have no allegiance to the different nations, and they don't care.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you, for anybody that's in business, even at the level of myself, where I'm, I run my own little business or whatever. Like, bro, I've seen it. Like when Obama in office, which it wasn't quite as bad as it is now, but like when Trump was in office, bro, everything skyrocketed for us. Like, I mean, I'm talking about, shoot. Like right now, I own my own business, but I make minimum wage for a truck driver.
And you feel like that's Biden's?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do with like his whole idea to try to run out. Because see, I think most people want to get to a point where we can live green and go by these policies that they constructed that maybe we can get to one day far in the future, another decade or two, if not longer, before we're able to fully get to that point. You don't make things like, you don't start selling your fuel to another country and you don't utilize it for yourself. You sell off all of your fuel to somebody else. They get good clean fuel, and then we have to go buy fuel from another country, which it's way more expensive to do that, and all of the cost goes to us. Like,
because it benefits the corporations. It's really simple. Their decisions that they make benefit the corporations, and they use the federal government as a piggy bank.
But see, that's what I'm trying to tell you, the difference, because corporations and the people could prosper at the same time.
But that's not what they want, because the corporations profit
No.
even more, because they have more control over the people when the people are struggling, and they're willing to accept low wage jobs to try to get by.
Well, see, the whole thing is that there's a total agenda that he can be controlled on. Like Biden, him being being president right now isn't because that he earned it and he deserved it. I'm not even gonna go into all the other little nooks and crannies of it, but because he could be, the establishment has shit on him and can
Right.
control him, is why they want
I
him in
agree. He
office.
was totally picked because they know what he was going to do. They know they can rely. He was the, it's like, that's our
He's gonna
guy.
do whatever
We
he's
got
told to do.
we got our guy in there. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. We got our guy.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
in most cases, they always have their guy in there.
Right.
Republican or Democrat, it didn't
Right.
matter. When Trump was in office, he had a different agenda because personally, he has a personal affinity to America. Like he has businesses all around the world. He benefits from the same type of things that they do, but at the same time, he also, for whatever reason, he can, and he's like, for you to tell black people this, well, quote unquote black people, like they're appalled and they can't believe that you're saying something like this is like blasphemy, because they feel like he's the evil guy on the block because he keeps calling them out, and like
It's
it's it's
the
it's a
media and the
it's a
brainwashing.
it's the brainwashing of the media, and because they're controlled by the same people that Biden is
The
controlled by.
neoliberals. Let me play some more.
16 is he was the first Republican or Democrat since the Reagan Revolution to come out and openly challenge neoliberalism. Now, a lot of what he was saying were just, flat out lies. He said he was going to raise taxes on the rich so that all his friends would hate him. Instead, he gave them a $2 trillion, gift. He said he was going to empower the labor unions, and instead he had, his Department of Labor further gutted union rights. And a lot of the stuff that he said when he challenged neoliberalism just turned out to be BS. And the tariffs that he did were done by executive action rather than by Congress, so they were largely symbolic. And most businesses in China certainly realized that they were largely meaninless, but they sold well.
Stop.
I think that.
See what he's just said. He's trying to trick us again.
Yeah. Just woke up.
Mad interesting to me. I was about to go to sleep and this just woke me up.